Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Eisner Foundation's launch of the new Eisner Prize Fellowship Program, which we're excited to host during Global Intergenerational Week. My name is Chelsea Mason, and I'm the Director of External Relations at the Eisner Foundation. And just before we begin, a couple quick notes. First, captions are available for this session and can be enabled by clicking the closed captions button at the bottom of your screen. Second, we'll be leaving plenty of time for questions at the end. Please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, not the chat. If you can, the Q&A box is where we're going to be monitoring this, and we'll respond to them at the end. Finally, this session is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. You'll receive a link to the video once it's available in a follow-up email. You can also visit our website, eisnerfoundation.org, for all the details on the Eisner Prize Fellowship and our grant-making programs. And we also invite you to join us on social media for the latest news, updates from our partners, and celebrations of how intergenerational connections make our community stronger. So with that, I am now pleased to introduce the CEO of the Eisner Foundation, Trent Stamp, who will kick us off with an overview of the Eisner Foundation and the Eisner Prize Fellowship.
Thank you, Chelsea. Hello, everyone. Welcome. For those of you who are new to the Eisner Foundation, we have been supporting nonprofit organizations in Los Angeles County since 1996, and for the last couple of years, also in New York City as well. Early on, we supported many organizations working with children, and later we expanded to those working with older adults. But over the years, we noticed something special. Programs that put the two groups together instead of serving them separately were not only more efficient and more effective, but they were more empowering for all involved. Participants stopped being passive recipients of service and instead actively served each other. They formed relationships that continued and grew outside regular programming times. And they changed the way they thought about other generations, finding value in their experiences. So in 2015, we made the choice to become the first, and as far as we know, still the only US-based funder exclusively supporting intergenerational programs. Now, for those of you who are new to the area, we usually find it useful to establish what exactly we mean by intergenerational programs. To us, the strongest ones always have these few things in common. First, they're intentionally designed to encourage interaction between people of different ages, usually with people they're not related to. These programs create activities and opportunities for people to engage, share, and get to know each other. As many of our partners will tell you, it's not enough to just have older people and younger people together in the same room. You have to jumpstart the interaction, and then participants can take it from there. Likewise, programs that simply serve people of different generations without intentionally facilitating those interactions between them typically aren't the strongest intergenerational programs. Second, the organizations that we find to be truly intergenerational see their participants as resources, not just as passive recipients of services. Even if a program involves one generation helping another, there's still a mutual benefit involved. Both groups get something out of the process. Everyone contributes in their own way, and everyone benefits. For those of you who are looking for inspiration, we have profiles and videos of many of our partners showcasing their work on our website, and we encourage you to explore those. If you're in the early stages of developing intergenerational programming, we commend you, and we'd also like to point you to the amazing resources that our friends and partners at Generations United and Co-Generate, formerly Encore.org, have on their own websites. So, the Eisner Prize for Intergenerational Excellence was designed to honor people and organizations doing exceptional intergenerational work across the country. This was important to us because at the time, our grant making was focused solely on Los Angeles County, but we knew there was a lot of impressive work happening across the country. We wanted to learn from it, and we wanted to try to replicate it in our own community. The prize was first awarded by us in 2011, and winners include many of the top organizations working in this space. Organizations many of you have heard of, like Generations United, Co-Generate, Bridge Meadows, and most recently, One Generation have all been awarded the Eisner Prize. We are extremely proud of our Eisner Prize winners and continue to learn from them every single day, and we are impressed by their work. But now we're eager to support those we hope will be the next leaders of our field. So this year, we're launching the Eisner Prize Fellowship Program. It will bring together 3 to 5, to be determined, new leaders working to create innovations in intergenerational connection and provide them with the resources, the connections, and the visibility, not only the leverage, to complete a project during the course of a year, and hopefully the tools to continue thriving in our field afterwards. We want to honor them, celebrate them, and learn from them as we have with our previous Eisner Prize winners. Now, I'm going to hand it back to Chelsea, who will go into the specifics and the details of this new program from the Eisner Foundation.
Thank you, Trent. So as Trent mentioned, the fellowship is designed to incubate a defined project during the fellowship year. It will include a total of $50,000, $10,000 to the fellow to use as a stipend, and $40,000 to support the project. The fellows will gather regularly as a cohort throughout the year to share their progress and learn from each other and experts in our field. There will also be an in-person opportunity to connect during the Generations United Conference at the end of July in Washington, D.C., and each fellow will be given a scholarship to attend that conference. The meetings throughout the year will then be co-created with the fellows so that they're tailored to their backgrounds and their projects. The application will be open to anyone working to foster intergenerational connections in the United States. We are open to a broad range of project proposals, including new programming models, research, technology, and concepts we haven't even considered. To us, this is a chance to incubate out-of-the-box ideas. We also realize that projects will likely evolve as the fellowship progresses, so we encourage applicants to think big at this stage in the process. And just to note, while we will be asking for your birth year in the application, there are no age restrictions. All of this is intended to be as open as possible to encourage a wide range of applicants. So when you begin the application, you'll start by providing some basic contact and demographic information. The questions that follow are designed to get to know you, your interest in intergenerational connections, your successes thus far, and the project you'd like to pursue. The project you propose doesn't have to be fully fleshed out at this stage, but you should have a clear vision of what you'd like to accomplish within a year and with the $40,000. The questions will be available on our website once the application opens, so you can review them before you start the application itself. There will also be an option to include supplemental materials in 2 places. First, we'll have a text box where you can share with us anything you'd like us to know that didn't fit earlier in the application. Feel free to include links to relevant work or extra information you think would be helpful to us as we review your application in that text box. Second, there will be an opportunity to upload relevant materials. Nothing is required, but depending on who you are or what kind of project you're proposing, you may want to take advantage of this option. For example, a young person in college or graduate school could include a letter of support from an academic advisor stating that they support the student's participation in the fellowship. Someone proposing a technological innovation could include evidence of previous technical accomplishments. Someone proposing to do their project under the umbrella of a nonprofit could submit financial reports for the organization if they're in senior leadership, or include a letter of support from the organization's leader. Anyone could include a letter of recommendation from a mentor, a peer, or a supervisor. Essentially, this is just an opportunity for you to provide evidence that you can accomplish the project you're proposing and that you have the support of the people around you. Again, this part is completely optional. Finally, the application itself will be open the entire month of May. We'll then plan to announce our inaugural fellows mid-June. Again, you're going to get a follow-up email from us with this recording and a link to the application when it opens on May 1st. And we'll always have more information at this link, eisnerfoundation.org/EP-fellows. So that's pretty much it for our overview. We're really grateful for you all to be so interested in the Eisner Prize Fellowship Program, and we've been really thrilled by your excitement and enthusiasm. And we are excited to review your applications. So with that, we do have plenty of time for questions. Please put your questions in the Q&A box, which you can find at the bottom of the screen. And we'll get to as many as we can, and we'll prioritize questions that are applicable to a wide range of people rather than an individual or a project. So we'll give it a moment and see if we get any Q&As popping up. I do see a couple in the chat. For those of you who may have put questions in the chat, if you could move them to the Q&A box, that would be really helpful to us. Joseph asks, are for-profit companies eligible? I think we'd consider that on a case-by-case basis. Again, we're trying to design this program to be open to as many different kinds of people as possible. And there are a lot of really great companies doing intergenerational work. And so I think that if you've got a strong concept or innovation, I would encourage you to put together an application and apply. Trent, anything you want to add to that?
No, we've designed this program, this prize, so that it's a broad tent. That's probably not the right analogy. I don't know if there are such things as broad tents. It's a big tent, but for-profit companies, government entities, even individuals, nonprofits would all be eligible. We are a private operating foundation who wants to spread good in the world. So, we're obviously going to be looking for young entrepreneurs, young people with good initiatives, and nonprofit organizations. So you're going to probably have a little bit of a bigger hill to climb if you're a for-profit, obviously, and you have other access to capital. But we want to make sure that everybody is welcome to apply.
Siobhan, and I hope I pronounced that right, asked, can we submit a dyad for consideration? We have a youth and older adult directors who co-lead our intergenerational work, or should they apply individually? We will consider on a case-by-case basis co-leadership teams. I will note that the application is set up for individuals to apply to. So you will need to pick one person if you do choose to apply as a team, one person just to be the contact information at the beginning, and then reference in the body of the application itself that you are applying as a team, and just include as much information about both people as possible. Trent, anything to add there?
Teams are good. We like collaborative work, and we like intergenerational teams, obviously. So that would be something that we would look upon favorably. And so, yes, what Chelsea's talking about is mostly details, which is, so who do we contact? But teams, individuals, organizations, they're all something we'd like to hear from.
Mm-hmm. Kind of on the same vein, Sachi asks, is the program for individuals only, or can a nonprofit organization apply as a whole? We're getting a couple questions kind of organizationally. One thing I do want to flag, and Trent, please chime in here, is that this is not designed to be a grants program. This is designed to be a fellowship, ideally for an individual. So again, we're seeing a couple questions. If an organization has applied in the past to the Eisner Foundation and wasn't awarded grant funding at that time, is this an opportunity to get a grant from the Eisner Foundation? This is not designed to be a small grants program. This is designed to be a fellowship for an individual or a small team to execute a project within a year time frame. Trent, anything you'd like to add there?
Only that, yes, it's not just another, pivot point at the Eisner Foundation application process. Based on what we've heard from the sector so far, we imagine that these are going to be highly competitive. And so, if it was not something that resonated with us for whatever reason, unless it was geographic previously for a grant, I can't imagine that that this would be easier to get. We're going to get a lot of really talented people who are going to want to be an Eisner Prize Fellow. So I would probably not just pivot my regular organization to try this method of coming in the door. That being said, if an organization was declined previously, but there's someone at that organization who's doing something particularly innovative or interesting, that wouldn't preclude you either. I wouldn't say, oh, well, we got denied, but I have this amazing idea that I've been dying to try. Then I would love to hear from you also.
We're getting a couple questions about the stipend and the funding. So first of all, the timeline for this, we'll be announcing our fellows in mid-June. Usually it takes a couple weeks to process things, so the funding probably would be dispersed sometime in July. And then it's a year-long fellowship. So if you need a start and end point, I would say July 1st through July 1st. Hopefully, pending the fabulous success of the first cohort, the second cohort, we'd ideally like to overlap a teeny bit so that the incoming cohort can learn from the outgoing cohort. As far as the $10,000, that stipend is part of the fellowship. It is for the fellow to use personally as they wish. This is a branch of the Eisner Prize, which is set up as a prize, a reward for impressive work that has been done. And so we want this to go to the fellow to use as they please. Trent, any fine points you want to put on that?
No, I mean, I think the simplest way to understand it is that there is indeed a $10,000 cash prize that we would like to give you to thank you for your entrepreneurial nature and to reward you for either what you've done or what we think you can do in the past. And then the $40,000 is designed as a budget to help you get this project going or to sustain the project that you've already created over the next year that we could then hear about. So it's really kind of, we envision it as two different pools of money. It's $10,000 as a reward for you that you don't necessarily have to tell us what you did with it. And then a $40,000 that will be tied directly to a budget to create something over the year. So you could theoretically, take the 10,000, pat yourself on the back and say, I'm an awesome intergenerational person. And we would be okay with that if it were true. And then we'd want to know about the $40,000 that you're going to use to implement your vision over the coming year.
Mm-hmm. And we're getting a couple questions about the $40,000 as well. So toward the beginning of the fellowship, we will work with you to create a defined budget. So in your application, you'll want to give us a solid idea of what you're looking to do, but you don't need to provide a budget at that time. We'll then work with you to put together a budget that makes sense for everyone involved. Obviously, some operational expenses will be included in there, but again, this is not intended to be a small grants program. So, overhead going to a nonprofit that somebody might be working under the umbrella of, again, kind of case by case basis here. Trent, anything about the $40,000 and the budgeting process?
Only that we understand what $40,000 is, both as an incentive and as a limitation. And so, we're not asking you to run a 22-person organization working in 6 states for $40,000. This is a budget for a particular project that if you get additional funding for, that's fine. We're not opposed to that in any way whatsoever. We like as many people in the pool as possible, but we also envision that for many of you, the $40,000 will be the sole budget for what you're going to do in this particular year. And so your project should be $40,000 appropriate.
We're getting a couple of questions about disbursement and again, to what kind of people can apply. Again, we are looking for individuals, not necessarily nonprofit organizations as a whole, government agencies as a whole. I saw one of those questions in there, or companies. Individuals from any of those entities are welcome to apply. So if somebody who works at a government agency is interested in pursuing a project, that's great. But the agency itself is not the applicant here. It is designed to be for the individual. As far as disbursement, that'll be on a case-by-case basis, just because some people are going to be working under the auspices of a nonprofit. Some people are going to be working individually. And so we'll manage that on a case-by-case basis. I also have a question here about a couple different project ideas and reviewing those in advance for what would be the best fit. We are not going to do any pre-application meetings with anyone, just to keep the playing field as level as possible. If we have an existing program, can we use this for, just trying to make sure I understand this properly. I think this question is asking essentially, is this for existing programming or is this for new ideas? This is intended to incubate new ideas. We want to grow the field. We want to get new leaders in the door. We want to get new ideas in the door, and we want to incubate those types of programs. So I would caution you against trying to apply for anything that is already in progress. If you're interested in adding a new dimension to it or taking it to the next level, that would definitely be something to look at. But for existing programming, again, this is not a small grants program. This is a fellowship designed for an individual to take the next step in their leadership and grow new programs. Trent, we have a couple questions from some of our current partners and grantees. If somebody has already received an Eisner Foundation grant, is staff eligible to apply for the fellowship?
Sure. And just again, and we're not trying to be all things to all people, but in this inaugural year here, we want to cast a wide net, and we want people to to feel welcome to apply. And we're primarily looking for new ideas and new people and things that are interesting. But so it's not designed to be, I work for this organization and you gave us $100,000. So can I get another 50 for the same general project or the same general thing? But if there is somebody who's at a particular organization that has been emboldened and inspired by their intergenerational work and wants to try something else, whether it's under their own auspices or from the nonprofit themselves, and we would love to hear about it. So we're being kind of broad on this because we want you all to bring us ideas. We want you to bring us things you want to try. We want you guys to say, this is something that is of interest to us. Would it be of interest to you? We don't want to close the door to very many people at the information session stage. But I do think that it's important to remember that, one of the things that we're going to do for organizations or for individuals is to try to create a cohort of people who are going to learn from each other. We want to send you to the Generations United conference, pay for it, get you there, host you there, connect you to some people there. So that's the kind of thing that has value to an individual. Even if that individual is representing a nonprofit, we're not going to send a nonprofit. We're going to send one particular person who has one particular really interesting and inspiring idea, and we're going to try to connect you to 3 to 4 to 5 other people who have similar ideas, and you guys can work together to learn from each other, and then come back and present your project in a year and show us what it looked like. But we're not looking to send entire organizations to a conference. We're looking to send somebody who's interesting.
We have a couple questions about people pursuing research. We are certainly interested in people pursuing research. That research should be happening in the United States. At this time, that's where our focus is, because as you can imagine, our applicant pool would broaden substantially if we went wider than that. And we are looking for 3 to 5 fellows for the year. So again, we're happy to accept applications from people doing research. It looks like we've got a couple people who are pursuing PhDs. That's fantastic. We'd love to hear from you and hear more about your project. That fellowship would go to you, and then those funds would be used by you for your project. So we'd figure out, again, kind of on a case-by-case basis how disbursement works there. But yes, we are open to people doing research in the United States. Trying to make sure. A lot of you have very similar questions, so I want to make sure that we get to everything. Trent, anything coming top of mind at the moment while I scroll through some of the remaining questions?
I think we've answered the majority of these. You don't have to be associated with a nonprofit. I don't necessarily understand what it means. The person keeps asking the same question of, can the portion of the award go to his salary? In the sense that we would give it to the organization and then they would give it to you as salary instead of your salary. That's a specific question. There would be a $10,000 cash award that you would need to sort out with your particular nonprofit if your project was being done in conjunction with their particular work. So I would say that we probably would give the $10,000 to the organization and they would give it to you if you were doing it on office hours as a particular project. But we can sort that out in the long run. It certainly wouldn't cost you money to be given an Eisner Prize Fellowship. People are asking what they're, what exactly are we looking for, in terms of excellence. We're looking for the same general things that, that you would think we're looking for. We're looking for interesting, bright, new ideas from entrepreneurs that will bring together our society, primarily across age, and create high impacts intergenerationally. So, some of it is going to be speculative and on our part, but that's why we're asking for you to tell us why you think this would work, and why we're going to get some success. So, what type of application would excite the nominating committee? You tell me. If it's great work and it's interesting and we would like to be a part of it, then that will excite us. How many fellows will be awarded? 3 to 5, depending on, we have the budget for 5, but if we only have 3 truly exemplary people, we will pick 3. But I can't imagine a scenario with this many interested folks out there where we wouldn't be able to get a nice cohort of folks together. So, and like Chelsea said earlier, there's a big page on our website that will probably answer a lot of your additional questions. We will send you this presentation. We are available, for you to reach out and ask additional questions. But basically we're trying to create an Eisner Prize Fellowship where we identify and award a new cohort of folks who want to work intergenerationally and bring together positive impacts for their society and for their community. We'd like to give you $10,000 because it's a great idea, and then we'd like to give you $40,000 to create that specific project. And that's really all there is to it. It's not there's no hidden agenda here, and this is in addition to our regular grant making program. And that's where we're coming from. And we also should mention that we do have a cohort of Eisner Prize winners who are some of the great leaders in the intergenerational world. We would like to connect you to those folks once you've been selected. If you want mentorship, if you want tutoring, if you want a sounding board, we would like to figure out ways to connect you to some of the most extraordinary leaders in the nonprofit intergenerational world, so that you have access to those people as sounding boards and as mentors, especially those leaders who are on the younger side and could benefit from an intergenerational connection like that in your own work.
Thank you, Trent. I'm answering a couple questions within the Q&A box itself that are a teeny bit more specific, but I think at that point, we are at 10:31. So at this point, I think we're going to bring this to a close, since I think we've gotten most of these questions out of the way. Again, we're really excited to have your interest and excitement in this program. We're excited too, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. For any further questions, you can find us at info@eisnerfoundation.org. And we will be sending out a recording to this presentation, as well as the link to the application when it's available. So thank you again, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody. Please apply. We really want to hear about your great ideas.